I'll give you a complete 2,100-word script below, written for a finance and investment YouTube video, engaging and beginner-friendly but with real value for advanced viewers, no subheadings, and starting with a strong hook. Here's the truth that most people don't want to hear. Becoming a millionaire is not about luck, talent, or even intelligence. It's about habits. In fact, studies show that more than 80% of self-made millionaires didn't inherit wealth. They built it, one decision, one routine, one small habit at a time. And here's the kicker. Most of them started with nothing. No trust fund, no insider connections, no magic formula, just habits. The daily choices they made were so powerful that they compounded into millions over time. And today, I'm going to share with you the millionaire habits that completely changed my life. Habits that transformed how I think, how I spend, how I invest, and how I build wealth. If you adopt even a few of these, your financial future will never be the same. It all started years ago when I was broke, stressed, and living paycheck to paycheck. I blamed the system, the economy, and everything except myself. I thought rich people were just lucky or born into wealth, but then I started studying them, reading their biographies, watching their routines, and listening to their interviews. And I noticed something strange. They all had very similar patterns. The way they thought about money, the way they managed time, the way they made decisions. It was completely different from how the average person did things. Slowly, I began to copy those patterns. And over time, everything changed. The first habit that changed my life was developing a long-term mindset. Most people are focused on the next weekend, the next paycheck, or the next holiday. Millionaires think in decades. They're not chasing instant gratification. They're planting seeds that will grow into forests over time. I used to spend money on things that made me feel good now. Expensive clothes, new gadgets, dinners out. But millionaires ask a different question. Will this bring me value in 5 years? When you start thinking long-term, your spending, saving, and investing habits naturally shift. You stop chasing quick wins and start building lasting wealth. Another life-changing habit was paying myself first. This sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful financial principles on earth. Most people spend their paycheck, then save whatever's left, which is usually nothing. Millionaires do the opposite. They automatically save and invest a portion of their income before they touch a single dollar for bills or luxuries. At first, I started with just 10%. It felt uncomfortable, but I treated it like a bill I had to pay, the future me tax. Over time, that money grew into a safety net, then into an investment fund, and eventually into serious wealth. The habit isn't about the amount. It's about the discipline of consistently building your future before you fund your present. The third millionaire habit was learning to use money as a tool, not a goal. When I was younger, I thought money was the finish line. Once I had a certain number in my bank account, I'd be happy. But millionaires understand money is a resource, like time or energy, that you deploy strategically to create more value. They don't hoard money, they make it work. They use it to buy income-producing assets, invest in businesses, hire talented people, and scale opportunities. When I shifted my mindset from, how can I save more, to, how can I make every dollar work harder, my wealth started growing faster than I ever imagined. Then came one of the hardest but most rewarding habits, mastering delayed gratification. We live in a world of instant everything, streaming, same-day delivery, one-click purchases. But building wealth doesn't work like that. It's slow, boring, and requires patience. Millionaires are willing to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain. I stopped buying things just to reward myself and instead started rewarding myself with freedom. The freedom to walk away from a job I didn't like, the freedom to invest aggressively, the freedom to take risks others couldn't afford. That discipline, repeated over months and years, created opportunities I never would have had otherwise. Another critical habit was becoming obsessed with learning. Every single millionaire I studied was a student, even decades into their success. They read books, listen to podcasts, attend seminars, and surround themselves with people smarter than them. And they don't just consume information, they apply it. I made a rule for myself. Every time I learned something about money, investing, or business, I had to implement it within a week. Knowledge without action is wasted potential. But knowledge combined with consistent execution? That's how wealth multiplies. I also learned the importance of protecting my environment. This one might sound strange, but it's one of the most underrated millionaire habits. Your environment, the people you hang out with, the conversations you have, the content you consume, shapes your beliefs about what's possible. When I was surrounded by people who complained about money, I complained too. When I started spending time with people who were building businesses, investing, and taking risks, my mindset completely changed. It's not about cutting people out of your life. It's about curating the energy you allow to influence you. Millionaires know that mindset is contagious, so they choose carefully who they let into their circle. One of the most transformative habits was focusing on assets over liabilities. Most people work for money and then spend it on things that lose value: cars, clothes, gadgets, vacations. Millionaires use their money to buy things that make money: stocks, real estate, businesses, intellectual property. I started asking myself a simple question before every major purchase. Will this put money in my pocket or take money out? That one question changed the trajectory of my finances. Over time, my income shifted from being entirely dependent on my job to being supported by assets that worked even when I didn't. Another game-changing habit was systemizing my finances. Millionaires don't rely on willpower. They rely on systems. They automate their savings, schedule regular investment reviews, and track their spending. I set up automatic transfers to my investment accounts, scheduled monthly money dates to review my finances, and created a system to reinvest profits instead of spending them. The less I relied on discipline and the more I relied on automation, the faster my wealth grew because systems are consistent even when motivation isn't. Perhaps one of the most important millionaire habits is taking calculated risks. The average person avoids risk because they fear loss. Millionaires embrace risk because they understand that without it, there's no reward. The difference is they don't take blind risks. They take informed ones. They research, plan, and manage downside while aiming for upside. I started saying yes to opportunities that scared me. Investing in a business, launching a side hustle, buying my first stock. Not all of them worked out, but every one of them taught me something. And over time, the wins far outweighed the losses. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, I learned to think in terms of value creation, not income generation. Most people ask, how can I make more money? Millionaires ask, how can I solve bigger problems? Because money is a byproduct of value. The more value you create, for your clients, customers, or audience, the more wealth flows back to you. This mindset shift completely rewired how I approached work. I stopped trading time for money and started thinking about how to build scalable systems, products, and investments that could generate income without my constant involvement. These habits didn't transform my life overnight. They didn't make me rich in a month or even a year, but they compounded. Slowly at first, then faster and faster, until one day I looked around and realized my reality had changed. My bank account was growing, my stress was shrinking, and I had options, real options, about how I wanted to live my life. And here's the thing. Every single one of these habits is within your control. You don't need a special background or a perfect plan. You don't even need money to start. All you need is the decision to change the way you think, act, and approach wealth. Because money doesn't change your habits change your money. If you commit to these millionaire habits, long-term thinking, paying yourself first, using money as a tool, mastering delayed gratification, constant learning, protecting your environment, focusing on assets, building systems, taking smart risks, and creating value, Your financial future won't just improve, it will transform. The journey to wealth is not about massive leaps. It's about small, consistent steps in the right direction. And the best time to start building those habits is right now. Because 5 years from today, you'll either look back and thank yourself for starting, or wish you had. If this video helped you see money differently, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're here every week breaking down the strategies, habits, and mindsets that create real financial freedom, one decision at a time.